Hi everyone, I'd like to welcome back Dilip Sarkar, who's here today to talk to us about his book Faces of the Few. Hi Dilip,
Hi, Claire.
lovely to see you.
Yep.
So talk to us today about the book that you have on Faces of the Few. What's it about and what was your inspiration behind it?
Well, there's a thing because when I very first decided to start my own research when I was a teenager, I thought about how great it would be to assemble an archive of photographs, and without any idea of how huge this was eventually going to become. And what I was interested in wasn't the readily available illustrations from the Imperial War Museum and the RAF Museum. I was interested in the snapshots from people's personal albums.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, and it was difficult in those days because photography was expensive
Yeah,
and it was 35mm film, and I was only a kid and I didn't have any money, still haven't. And um, copying photographs was expensive because you had to for a start you had to win the trust to borrow them. It's not like today, you just turn up with your phone or
yeah.
with your camera, easy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like that in those days. So it's a process of building a trust, to borrow the stuff, to get it copied, and that was expensive. It cost a lot of money. But that's how I started. And what I was so interested in was the official photographs. I mean, a lot of them are posed, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they're so clearly posed. And I was interested in quite the opposite, the clandestine snapshots, because they weren't supposed to take them anyway on
Yeah.
service installations. And I've got pictures of 20-odd-year-old Spitfire pilots posing by their aircraft at 4 o'clock in the morning in the Battle of Britain, because it was the only time they'd be able to do it.
Right.
And consequently, you look at the rudimentary camera equipment and the light at the time, the photograph quality isn't all it could be,
Yeah.
but it's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a real authentic window on the past. And I think I've always been fascinated by photographs from the personal collections. And over time, that's how it all came about. So my interest isn't just in the Battle of Britain, although that's probably what I'm best known for publishing on. But this book, Faces of the Few, is what it says on the tin. My interest is people.
Yeah.
I'm a big people person, and very interested in people's experiences and who they are. I'm probably a bit nosy who they are, where they're from, what the backgrounds are. Um, because it all builds the context
Yeah.
around that person's experiences and the events that they were involved with. So this book is a collection of photographs from uh, families' collections, whether it's relatives of casualties from the Battle of Britain or the few themselves, that I've collected over the years. And I think that, well, it would certainly be a unique collection of photographs, definitely. And some years ago, probably 1999, I think the first one came out. I did a series of books, Battle of Britain, the Photographic Kaleidoscope, volumes 1 to 4, and then I did Fighter Pilot, the Photographic Kaleidoscope, which was a similar thing. It was a series of photos, and they were very popular. Those books, very popular indeed. People like photos, and I think photos that not everybody likes reading huge chunks of text. And
Yeah.
these books I'm doing at the moment are very, very heavy going, 130, 140,000 words a throw in the official history. But like a photographic book's really good because somebody who's not a geek, not an anorak like us, and who isn't necessarily totally absorbed by the whole thing, I have lots of friends, and I might chuck them a book and say, "Oh, God, my future brother-in-law, John, I mean, I say to him, have a look at that. There's a few photos for you." So I think they're really good, and we're following up Faces of the Few, probably around Easter. I expect to be out with Spitfire Faces.
Right.
So that's all to do with not just pilots, ground crew, people who built Spitfires, you know, men and women, the whole sort of story really. And recently, it was last year, the year before, I published the photograph collection of Air Vice Marshal Johnny Johnson, who was our top scoring official wartime fighter pilot, who was my great friend, mentor, and one-time business partner, actually. And we lost Johnny, well, it's 20 years ago now, 20 years last month. But Johnny had some great photos. And like me, and one of the reasons we got on so well was Johnny was a people person. Yeah. People were his interest, you know. So his photographs, they weren't like pictures of rivets on Spitfire cowlings, you know, they were pictures of people, pilots, and some great photos from a variety of sources, some of them official, some of them unofficial. Great collection. So we published that, and as pure coincidence, Johnny's granddaughter, Julia, she's an academic working in the area of photography. Right. Julia wrote the foreword to it, and you know, sort of it all came together really. Photographic books, very, very important, and lots of people like them, you know, for the technical stuff. The modelers love them. You know, for other people, the great thing about a photo book is each picture tells a story.
Exactly.
And you've only got a few words to tell that story in, so you can't wax lyrical or go into that much detail, but you can signpost where other information might be found. I've just done another one actually called HMS Royal Oak. I think that's, yeah, HMS Royal Oak, the tragedy of Scapa Flowing pictures or something like that. I forget what they called it in the end. But HMS Royal Oak was torpedoed at anchor at Scapa Flow, as I'm sure you know. And I wrote a book about the Royal Oak some years ago, Hearts of Oak, the human tragedy of HMS Royal Oak, because I used to do a lot of diving at Scapa Flow. Went out to the wreck site, you know, and I was deeply moved. So I traced lots of families who lost people on the Oak, I think 32. So there was 835 killed, I think it was. And at the time we thought it was 832. So I traced 32 families to represent the whole 830. Yeah. And this book has gone further still with the help of the Royal Oak Facebook page and the Royal Oak Association. So we've got lots more photos of the crew now, you know, most of whom who perished, but some survivors and other objects of interest and things like that, you know. So they're really interesting books to do. And the good thing about a photographic book, I mean, you could argue that say Faces of the Few has probably been nearly 50 years in the researching of it, because that's how long I've been at this.
That was going to be my next question, because I thought, gosh, it's going to take a while to gather all that information together, and obviously, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. People say, oh, I don't know how you can get these books out so quickly. And I said, well, it's because I've been doing it all my life since I was about 11 or 12. And that's, you know, 50 years now. So that's 50 years worth of reading. I must have read everything. And I have a bit of a photographic memory, it's been said. So I've got automatic recall on where the information is, whether it's in primary sources or whether it's in secondary sources. I mean, my office at the moment it's just a mass of books that are open and archival material because I'm writing this new series. But that's how you do it, you know. And there's no shortcuts to it. I don't think, you know.
I mean, you sound as if you're a bit like me, that you know you find things while you're actually working on a particular project. And you say to yourself,
oh, you bookmark that.
That's got potential for something in the future, and you save it into a folder somewhere that you can dig it back up again.
There's always something, because I mean, yeah, absolutely. And the photographic book that I've just done, this the Royal Oak one, I sort of, since the original book came out, people have sent me more stuff, you know, it's what happens, and I've filed it all. And then I suddenly thought, oh, you know, when I finished volume 1 of this new Battle of Britain series, I was absolutely mentally exhausted. And I thought, well, I know, I'll do that, because it'll only take about a week do to actually write all the captions for it. Once you've selected the photos, edited them, and done the captions, a week, 10 days maybe, and it's a bit of a break between doing something else, you see.
Less,
And then all
less, less mentally taxing, I suppose.
oh yeah, it is, yeah, exactly.
You know,
But
research
then
can't be like that.
you're always, you know, Martin, my commission agent, Martin founded Britain at War magazine some years ago. He doesn't own it now, but you know, we're very. He's also an ex-police officer, actually, and we're very like-minded. You know, we work together perfectly, and you know, all I have to do is just make a phone. So, should we do this? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we'll do that. You know, great, because we're just totally on the same wavelength about the whole thing, and we've got so many ideas to pursue, but where the time is going to come from, I don't know. I mean, is it like yesterday? I mean, this Battle of Britain project, it's massive. You know, Sue wants to retire. She's a very stressful full-time job still, working for the police. And I'm saying you can't retire yet, because this is going to take me at least another couple of years. So there's no point you retiring until I finish the Battle of Britain series. You know, we're not going to be getting a camper van and going off into the sunset or going around the world just yet. I haven't got time. You know. But that's the thing. But then tomorrow, Martin and I are at Grenadier Guards Regimental Headquarters, Wellington Barracks, because my granddad was a grenadier, and he was wounded and captured with Harry Nichols, who won a Victoria Cross, and Harry Nichols was nearly dead, and my granddad kept him alive and never thought to mention it to us, and we only found out the day of his funeral. And I wrote a book about that in '99, Guards VC. It was one of the first VCs of the war, actually. But the only people I couldn't speak to was Dad and Harry, because Granddad and Harry, because they were both dead.
Yeah.
But I traced loads of survivors and Germans as well. So we're going to completely update that book, because, like the Royal Oak Project, since 1999. I've had that many more people contact me, you know, particularly relatives of guardsmen who are killed and so on, you know, and we're going to put it together with a new battlefield guide. I was the first to go out there and identify where it all happened, and that all needs updating again. So that's one reason why we're there tomorrow. But we've also got 3, possibly 4 other projects to talk to the regimental adjutant about.
Yeah.
The one is really potentially a really big project, you know. Plus, we've got to go to Spain and go and see Ian Sayer, who wrote Nazi Gold. Ian's been a friend of mine for donkey's years, you know, and we're going to be doing some work with Ian as well. And I'm just thinking, well, where's the time going to come from for all this, you know? And I was talking to Martin the other day, and I said, well, I'm about halfway through volume 3 now. And then, you know, we were talking about the bombing of the airfields in the Battle of Britain. He said, oh, years ago, you were talking about a book specifically about that. I said, well, you're going to have it now, aren't you? It's going to be one of the volumes of the series. No, he said, can't you still do a book that's specifically about that? Because we could go and we could go around all these playoffs.
Do you know what's going to happen? I mean, I say that to my husband as well. I'll say, you know, even, I mean, I've got probably another, 15 years till I retire, but I can see me doing all this when I retire, and you're going to be the same, I think. But I think that's what's going to keep you from keep you sane during retirement.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I left the police a long time ago, 2005, and I'd set up a publishing company in '92, and I left to run it full time. But then, like a lot of us, I ended up with a divorce that made Saving Private Ryan, the D-Day landings, look like a battle reenactment, you know. So I sort of went off in a bit of a different direction. And I ended up going to university then, and then going back to work, running a big national department. But nearly 3 years ago, I was absolutely stressed out with it, and I just packed it in. And I'd already started working with Martin, and I was sort of really setting all this up, ready to parachute into when the time was right, you know. And, let's just say, to put it politely, I got irritated once too often, and that was the end of that, you know. So
It's quite funny you saying that, because I actually went to university after my divorce.
yeah, well, I think a
I
lot of
think,
people
I
do
think
actually.
I think there's that new lease of life where you say to yourself, right, okay, what do I really want to do here? And it's, into a new part of your life, so to speak.
I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I got a first in 2 years instead of three, and I absolutely loved it. And when I went, I was 47 when I went, and I thought, well, I don't know, I've been in the police for 22 years. I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to have in common with all these young kids. It was brilliant. I had an entourage. We had a fantastic time. But the interesting thing was that there were a number of mature students on the course, and we all got first. All of the mature students got first. And it's not that difficult. All you've got to do is just a little bit of work. That's all.
Do you know, I think as an adult going into study as well, there's a bit of a difference, because when you're young leaving school, it's sometimes hard to know what you actually want to do. And I think so many kids go into university thinking, this is my best option. But when you go as a mature student, my feeling is it's a subject that you are actually passionate about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I
that
mean,
makes a difference.
yeah, I mean, when I left uni, I did a bit of teaching, and I was teaching A-level modern history, and that wasn't quite so great, really. I left after a bit to go back into this sort of national policing type role, but a lot of the kids were messing about, and it's a bit like me, really. When I did my A-levels, I didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think at least when you're at university, you've made a conscious decision. You're old enough to make that decision because you're over 18. That you would do that, and I think certainly, as you say, when you're older, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to go when they're younger. I mean, I didn't want to go. I should have gone, but I didn't. And went and did something else completely different. But I think it's a terrific experience. And I do remember going down to the student's office to pick up my timetable. And I think I had about 3 lectures a week or something ridiculous. And I remember looking at his timetable and going, no, sorry, there's a mistake here. I'm a full-time student. And they went, no, that's a full-time timetable. I'm like, you're having a laugh. I used to be a policeman. I used to work for a living. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
So it was a total game changer for me.
Yeah.
And it was just so great to be with like-minded people reading and writing about history all day, every day, without somebody wanting to shoot me, stab me, assault me, complain about me, swear at me, or whatever. It was a whole new world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I loved it.
I think the lesson in this is that for anybody watching, it's never too late to follow your passion, really, and learn more.
I think it's a good thing to do because, especially, as a mature student, you're going to get more out of it.
Yeah.
And if you've had a problem in life, I think it gives you a breathing space where you can just draw breath and realign your life. It's certainly what I did. And I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It was really, I mean, 2 of the happiest years of my life, really. It was great. Loved it. Never wanted to leave.
I know. So I'm looking forward to seeing your book and catching some of the pictures that are in it as well. So Faces of a Few is available now. I will share the link of where you can purchase it on the Pen and Sword website. And thank you so much again, Dilip, for coming to speak to us.
The thoughts of Chairman Dilip you've had this afternoon.
Keep in touch and let us know what you're doing, and if there's anything else in the future, we'll get you back on again.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, I've got a book out every week or so, it seems. So whenever you like.
I can see you becoming a regular.
I dare say. Yeah.
Thanks, Dilip.
All right. Thanks, Claire.